Hello, awesome people. I hope you're having a great day today. Today we're taking a look at the next short story in this Ilmet Lankhmar collection of fantasy short stories that we've been doing a deep dive into called the Howling Tower. It is the sequel to the previous short story in this collection called the Silent. The land that we just did a review of for you folks. It takes off where that one left off. And they have just arrived at this far land that's across the sea and so forth. And now at the beginning of this short story, it is going to pick up where that left off. This is Fritz Leiber's famous Lankhmar collection of stuff. It got started in 1939 with the short story Two-Sod Adventure, which is the first short story actually ever published. He died in 1992 and had published things even up through the early 90s. So he published in every decade from the 30s to the 90s. He was a protege of H.P. Lovecraft, and he wrote letters back and forth, and Lovecraft edited some of his things, but he died before Fritz Leiber published his first short story a couple of years early in 1937, unfortunately. Anyway, so Fritz Leiber is one of the most awarded person out there in fantasy, in short and in science fiction, with a lot of Hugo Awards, Stoker, or his horror stuff and so forth. But this is his fantasy stuff, and this is probably his stuff that's the most well known, and particularly this series. Although he has some classics out there. For example, we've read and reviewed a short story in the science fiction genre that is in the Science Fiction Hall of Fame, according to the Science Fiction Writers of America, his peers. Also, he has a short story that we've read in the horror genre set in the Cthulhu mythos, which was created by H.P. Lovecraft, as another example. I'd also reviewed 5 short stories for you from this series. Prior to going back and rereading this, I did that years ago in 1920, a couple of years ago, back in the earlier days of this channel, when I would go back and just do stories for reviews of things that I had not gone back and reread, but I had read 15-20 years ago, or hadn't read recently, just new for this channel. I stopped doing that a long time ago. Now I go back and write it. So I haven't gone back and read any of these things in this series until I wanted to go back here and reread it for you folks. So let's take a look at the Howling Tower and what I thought of it. So it's pretty fun. It's about 16 pages long. It took me about 35 minutes for me to knock out a couple of nights ago for you folks. I enjoyed it. Thought it was a lot of fun. But what did I think overall of this short story? Well, I thought I was going to be giving it like a 7.5 out of 10. He's a major writer. Why am I giving? And this is a major series. This series has won Hugos. So why am I only giving it? Because it was the ending wasn't exactly huge or a big surprise, right? And I thought that it doesn't use its length well, and it's probably more talking and less doing, right? Which are key problems with science fiction stories. Short stories rather, in all genres. So that's why. So that's why I'm only giving it a 7.5. I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I've given some short stories in this collection already. 9s and 8s and so forth. But I also give one at 6, right? As a reminder, it's not a perfect guy. Also, as a reminder. So there you are. I'll go ahead and leave you to it. Anyway, in this short story, I've already given you the basic overall plot. Again, this is spoiler free. So there you are. Also, as a reminder, this short story series, and it has a couple of novellas in it too, is hugely influential. If you've read modern fantasy, then you've probably read stuff that's been influenced by this pre-Tolkienian in the 30s, and then his post-Tolkienian stuff also, but pre-Dungeons & Dragons stuff, and so anything that you've read today with a thieves guild in it, or thieves that are doing things like climbing walls without the use of gear and so forth, just because they can, and have good war work and so forth, picking pockets, that sort of thing. It all comes from this series and this characters and this giant city that was huge, and it was sort of the first giant city in modern fantasy. That sort of set the stage for the cities of modern times, right? So it all goes back to this. And so if you're reading modern fantasy with thieves guilds and thieves and characters like this, then you are reading Fritz Leiber. In fact, in 1979, in the Dungeon Master's Guide First Edition, in Appendix N, Gary Gygax lists all the places that he got inspiration from his game. He gives a shout out to Fritz Leiber in the series. So there you are. So it's even canonical how important it is. In fact, there was even a Dungeons and Dragons campaign world where they purchased the rights to this world because of how influential it was in the 80s. So that's how key this is, right? So again, that is Lankhmar for you folks, and by Fritz Leiber's work called The Howling Tower. Again, the sequel to Bleakshore, for you folks that I just knocked out recently and knocked out for you a couple of days ago. I enjoyed it a lot. I hope you enjoyed it. What did you think about this video? Would you like to talk about the spoilers? Let's do so. If you talk about the ending, if you disagree with my 7.5 out of 10, let's do so in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, why not hit that subscribe button? There's going to be a lot more of these to follow. And then I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching my video. We all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me is incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it. Thanks again, and have an amazing day.